months ago. Today is the day you show the world why you ran all those summer miles. Why you woke up at the crack of dawn every Sunday morning for a long run.
We'll see how this shapes up, but Aaron Finn is going to run a pretty unbelievable time here.
Why you know that victory at pre-nats meant something.
Edward Cheserek up front, never looking back.
Why that extra workout interval you ran back in October was worth it. Why you never let Mother Nature stop you from training. Why you cooked pasta for your teammates once a week for pasta nights. Why you grew out that badass mustache despite your girlfriend's apprehension. Why you deserved, no, earned your spot in the top 7. Why track PRs truly means squat on the grass. Why beating your arch rival 3 weeks ago was no fluke. And why nothing is guaranteed, because even the greatest have fallen short.
This is unexpected right here, this late in the race. As you see, Cheserek has just let them go.
Today,
just like any other race, okay? When it gets hard, remember that you trust these girls.
race day,
Keep fighting. I need a 10K of all-out effort after every single one of you.
is the day you run the hardest race to win.
Well, they just posted the results, and it's Colorado over the favorite Wisconsin by 4 points.
I'm so happy for you.
Look at that emotion.
You got yours.
Welcome to the 2017 NCAA Division I Cross Country Championships. It is November 18th, 7:20 in the morning, bright and early here on the East Coast, and we are at EP Tom Sawyer State Park in Louisville, Kentucky. University of Louisville hosting today's championship. I'm Ryan Fenton from FloTrack, alongside a great group here. Gordon Mack from FloTrack on the end, and beside me, Kara Goucher, two-time Olympian, silver medalist at the World Championships, and a 3-time NCAA champ. Most importantly, with credentials for this race, a champ, individual and team champ at this race in 2000. And alongside her, Jared Ward, coming off of a marathon performance in NYC just a few weeks ago, but 2016 Olympian, 6th there in Rio for the U.S., 4-time All-American, and twice on the podium with your BYU team back in your day. So, guys, welcome. How's everyone doing?
Good,
Great.
man.
Good.
Thanks.
Excited to be here.
What's it like to come back to NCAA cross country and have a little taste of the action here today?
I think we're excited to be here. We love running NCAA. I mean, it's like such a pure form of the sport, and with the team aspect, there's really nothing like that once you leave the collegiate system. So it's really fun to be back.
Yeah, there's nothing like going to work for your team, you know, in a race like this. And watching those videos, I mean, I was pumped up. You know, those videos feeding through. I'm ready to go put on my singlet and try to talk them into one more year of eligibility, right?
And you guys got a little skin in the game. Colorado, BYU, your alma maters, both top teams on each side, looking to do some big things today. So,
It'll be fun.
A little bias here and there.
A little bit.
No, not at all.
Never.
We'll try to be kind, but we know who we want to win.
And Gordon, for you've been at all the big meets throughout the season. We're here at the pinnacle of NCAA cross country. Where are you feeling right now?
Yeah, it's been a long 3-month road, but it all comes down to just 2 races, and that's what makes the season so much fun. It's because it's just one race, and everything that happened for the past 3 months, even summer training, all comes down to just one 20-minute or 30-minute race, which is kind of crazy how it all just comes down to just one event, which is awesome.
That's, again, why this event is so special. Some major storylines today that we're going to get into, but one of the big storylines that developed in the days just prior to this was the weather here in Louisville, and really in the whole region, that affected not only Division I but the Division II championships as well. They're calling for severe rain today, potential thunder showers, and wind gusts of up to 40 miles an hour. So the event, originally scheduled to go off at 10:45 a.m. here on the East Coast, was moved to 9 a.m. So the viewers out there on the West Coast, hello, good morning. Hope you have that cup of coffee. But a last-minute change yesterday. I think 4 o'clock is when the coaches were informed. What's that like coming into this event and kind of dealing with that change in such a short amount of time?
I think as an athlete it would be a little bit stressful. You've been planning this for months and months, and especially the week leading up. But once you get your head around it, you have to remember, like, everyone is going to be bumped up. Everyone's schedule is going to be a little bit off. So I think the initial reaction would be stress, but then you'd adjust.
It gives you a chance to turn something into your advantage, right? And so when there's setbacks or things that happen a little bit different and they happen to everybody, if if you can turn that positive, then it can become a motivator for you. You think, well, everybody else is messed up, but I got my game on. And so I think it creates an opportunity for runners too.
The coaches, I'm sure, have their messages to the team, but
Sure.
for the team itself, the athletes, you guys were leaders on your teams. What are you saying to your teams coming into today after that change?
It's just, you guys are ready. 1 hour doesn't change anything, and just, you've prepared the way you've prepared. It doesn't matter if you run at 9 or if you run at 10:15. You're going to be great no matter what.
Yeah, treat it like it doesn't matter.
I just had to wake up early and that's enough.
Well, we with that change, we'll go over today's schedule, not only at Division I, but across all 3 divisions. Look at the action here. On FloTrack, we'll be covering all 3 races, and we'll show you those times. Again, 9 a.m., the Women's Division I 6K championship will go off, and then we'll send it. We'll actually have 3 separate feeds, and you can switch between those. At 9:30, you'll be able to tune in Evansville for the D2 women's race. At 10 a.m., back here in Louisville for the men's 10K championship. Again in Evansville at 10:30 for the D2 men's 10K, and then at noon, Division III was not affected by the change, so their times will stick. 12 noon Eastern time for the men's 8K, 1:15 for the women's 6K. So a ton of action. So for any cross-country fan out there today, you're packed full of a lot of excitement.
Yeah, and it's not just 2 races here. It's 6 races because we're live just at all 3 divisions. It's not just 2 hours of fun. It's 4.5 hours of fun. And those D2 and D3 races have some interesting storylines. I was looking at that D3 battle. I'm personally excited because my alma mater is going for their 5th title in the past 6 years. Johns Hopkins women, they're a #1 ranked team in the nation, trying to go for title number 5 out of 6 years. But looking over at that entire field, North Central on the men's side, they're the pinnacle of a powerhouse, not just in Division III, but in the collegiate system. I don't think they've ever finished in worse than 2nd in, I can't even count how many years. So looking forward to that men's dominance of North Central. Individually, got Grant O'Connor versus Isaac Garcia Cassini. They both race at regionals. Isaac was #1 at regionals. Grant was #2 at regionals. And then because Isaac lost to Grant, they swap here as the preseason rankings. And then looking over at that women's battle, Taryn Cordani and Kia Kurtenbach duking it out. But I'm really excited to see how Caitlin Mooney does. She's a true freshman at Coast Guard. She's ranked #3 in the nation. She's raced Cordani earlier in the season, but anything can happen. And could a true freshman win D3s? That'll be pretty exciting.
Yeah, and on the D2 side, another great group of storylines there. When you look at the team battle, the individual battle, I know Adams State, always a favorite on the D2 side. And so as we look to the storylines on the D2 races today, that's a big headline there. #1 Adams State versus #2 Colorado School of Mines. And Gordon, part 3. This is the 3rd time they're facing each other this season.
Colorado Mines won conferences. Adams State won regionals. And now, those 2 wins mean nothing now because now it's all about who wins nationals. And excited to see how Colorado Mines and Adams State duke it out. But also keep in mind Grand Valley State. They're ranked 3rd on the men's side, ranked #1 on the women's side. There's a possibility Grand Valley State could not only just win the women's team battle, but the men's team and kind of pull off a Grand Valley State sweep. Individually, you're looking at James Nandu from Tiffin. The question is he unbeatable? He's a top returner from last year. No one's really touched him. He's undefeated all season long. And on the women's side, Carolyn Kurgat, Alaska Anchorage, and Alexis Seiss out of UMary. They're going to be really fighting it for that duel. It's a very similar duel, I feel like, between Edna Kurgat and Krista Schweitzer on the Division I side. It's very similar to that duel with Caroline and Alexis. And then Sidney Getabuti. We all know Sidney Getabuti. He has world-class talent. He's run 5Ks in the 13:30s, but he hasn't been healthy. He only ran regionals, finished in the top 20. Preseason, we thought this guy's going to run away with it and be searching to break 13:20 on the track, but he's kind of had a setback with injuries. So can he come into form and finish in the top 10 to help Adams State win yet another team title.
That'll be a big key for Adams State. So a lot of excitement. Again, you can check out all those races today on FloTrack. 9:30 the action starts at D2, 9:30 Eastern, and noon Eastern time for Division III. So, but we're here in Louisville for Division I, so it's time to look at the storylines here. We'll start with the women's because that's the first race of the day, 9 a.m. We are about 90 minutes away from that, and as you look at the teams here, it's really kind of wide open between 4 teams. And so you got New Mexico, you got Colorado, you got San Francisco, you got Stanford. There's a few just behind them that could sneak in there, but these are the 4 that most people have pegged to be on that podium and fighting for a win. Guys, how are you looking at this between these 4 teams?
Yeah, I mean, I look at one of the teams specifically, number 3 ranked San Francisco. They've been under the radar. No one really was thinking of them as a podium team, but then the San Francisco women, led by Charlotte Taylor, you look at their roster, they got Charlotte Taylor, who's ranked number 3 in the nation, Veronica Pizik, who's been coming out of nowhere. She beat Taylor in the opening race at Roy Griak. She's ranked 12th in the nation, and Isabel Brower, 18th. So 3 women who all can finish in the top 20, and then Elizabeth Bird, that late transfer from Princeton. Again, they were 6th last year. No one was talking about San Francisco preseason, but as every meet goes along, more and more people are talking about them. San Francisco won West Regional handedly, and they're a sleeper team to upset the big school favorites in the Colorados and Stanfords and Oregons of this world.
See, I got to go with the Lobos, though. And that's a conference team back from where I was at, right? But I like Edna all season. She's been very dominant. I think we got the best freshman in the NCAA with Wayne in there, and really a dominant top 4. And I think the story across the women this year, in my opinion, is going to be this 5th man story. Right, we're looking at depth, and we're trying to compare where the depth's at, and to see if someone like an Alex Buck can step up, really, or any of these guys. They had a couple of girls in the 60 and 69th at Wisco, and we get a performance like that, someone in the top 100. They really have the top 4 depth to carry a ways down for that 5th runner.
And important to note, they won here in 2015, so they have some experience at this course. Kara, what are you seeing out there?
I mean, I have to go with the Colorado Buffaloes. I feel like this is their year. I think they made some mistakes last year. Maybe they were a little sharp early on. They learned from that. Their pack is so good this year. 2 through 5 is so good, and I think that's going to make the difference. I think Danny Jones has stepped it up quite a bit on an individual level. I just think they're on a different level than they were a year ago. They're smarter. They've been more patient. And I got to go with the Buffaloes.
And they, you're close to them. They lost by 9 points last year, finishing 3rd. What did that do for them heading into today?
It was very devastating. I mean, they were all very devastated. We were all disappointed for them because we knew they were capable of winning. But it was sort of like looking back at what happened. And I think maybe a little sharp early on, a little excited, and got in a little over their head by the end of the year. So they've planned it a little bit differently this year to nail it on the right day.
Today's the day, and the team I got to take a look at is Stanford. You look at them; they're ranked. They finished 5th at the NCAA championships a year ago, and really, when you look at the roster that they have, it's hard to not say on paper they have to be a favorite. You have some of the top 1,500-meter high school girls ever on this team, and so really, with their 2 up front, Frazier and O'Keefe. You got Oregon, Elise Cranny, a great runner who's coming back from some things, and it's really about will they be ready today, and if they can time it right and hit it today. And I know for Milt and Liz DeBoll over there leading that team, that's on both programs. I think that's what it's been all about is timing things right, getting the team ready to prepare for today. And if they do, I think that could be a really dangerous team out there.
Now, Ryan, there's one team we haven't talked about. The Oregon Ducks.
Who's that?
No one talked about them last year, and they were ranked outside of top 10, and then they go on and win it by 1 point over Michigan. And so my question is, do you think there's a chance that someone could be the Oregon Ducks of this year? And I'm going with Arkansas. They're my pick to be the Oregon Ducks of this year. Arkansas, they didn't finish well last year, mainly due because they were young. They are dealing with some injuries. But they're ranked 7th, I believe, right now. And they got a strong core of young talent, and they got 2 great milers in Teresa Haas and Nikki Hiltz. And kind of reminds me of like Katie Rainsberger, a miler who finishes 4th. I think one of those is going to step up on this course and get top 10. Maybe Arkansas could be the Oregon women of 2017.
Dude, so I And that's bold.
Yeah.
but this is bold too, because I got Providence.
Ooh, okay.
Right, and that's going maybe a ways down the list, but this is a team that has some senior members. They've been around for a little while. They know what they're doing, and I think that's one of those things where, you know, it's always the story, just like Ryan was saying. It's where you're at right now. And it's what teams have put it together at the end and are coming together at the right time. And the teams with experienced runners, you know, I give them a chance to do that. So I'm watching for Providence as a dark horse team.
I don't think there's going to be a dark horse team this year.
No dark horse. No dark horse.
No, I think the top 3-4 teams are just so above the rest, and the depth of those teams, I just don't see anyone cracking in there. I just feel like they're so strong and solid all the way through. They're all their top 5 or even 6 runners, and I don't see any team coming in at this point. Sorry, ladies.
No love.
And when you say, for me, who the Oregon team will be this year, looking at last year, I actually am going to go with Oregon. And they're ranked just outside of the podium right now. So it wouldn't be a huge shock the way it was last year, but I just feel like the way that Oregon has been able to come into championships and perform. They've got a great low stick in Katie Rainsberger, a super sophomore. But last year was an unbelievable surprise. I think back in 2012 when the championships were here, they pulled an upset, a crazy upset that, you know, took a while to get those results. But they're very good at preparing for today. And so for them to be just ranked outside of the podium right now, I think to them be on top wouldn't be a surprise. And actually, one of the coaches, I won't say who it was yesterday, but one of the coaches said to me, Oregon at championships does a great job of getting out fast, and if they do, they could have a chance of holding people off today with the conditions.
Interesting. Speaking of fast, the first runner, Edna Kurgat, she's pretty fast, right?
She's pretty fast. I mean, we're talking about the team battle here, but the first thing that we're going to see before those teams come in is that individual champion. And we have 2 that we've looked at all season. We have a defending champ and a newcomer in Edna Kurgat that you just mentioned. So let's take a look at these 2 and what we're going to see today.
2016, Carissa Schweizer shocks the world.
It's going to be Schweitzer of Missouri winning her first cross-country title.
A few months later, she does it again.
Schweitzer with a nice move with 400 meters to go. And now your indoor 5,000-meter champion.
This feels like a dream came true.
And again, becoming the 4th woman ever to win all 3 titles in the same year.
Schweitzer out of Missouri winning her first outdoor 5K title.
Meanwhile, there was something brewing in the Duke City. Edna Kurgat, forced to sit a year after transferring from Liberty, was quietly lining up the track.
So here comes Kurgat doing a lot of this by herself. Really excellent stuff.
Looks like Edna Kurgat.
That aggressive early start. That was an unbelievable run by her.
I'm ready for what God has for me to start.
This season, she hasn't been so quiet.
I'm now a different person in terms of how I look at things, how I approach the races.
One of the best times in meet history.
Yeah, Kurgat is definitely a national title contender.
I don't know if anyone in the country could beat her today.
But let's not forget, Carissa has 3 NCAA titles.
She is showing her dominance right now in the NCAA.
Who will win? The 3-time champ or the Lady Lobo tearing up the course?
So here comes Kurgat to the last stages here.
And down the home stretch we go, neck and neck. Woo! That was quick. What a finish here.
So again, today, that battle up front, Edna Kurgat from New Mexico, formerly at Liberty, sat out last year, and Carissa Schweitzer, the reigning NCAA champ from a year ago, and kind of the surprise, shocked a lot of people, didn't really know who she was. But you look at what they've done this year, their body of work through the season, Gordon, and you followed at most of these meets. What have you seen?
Yeah, Edna Kurgat, obviously undefeated. None of her races have been close. She's taken down everyone she's faced. She's beaten Ali Ostrander twice. And then Carissa Schweizer also running well. She set course records at the Commodore Invitational. She won SECs handedly in her regional. However, she does have a blemish. She did lose to Eleanor Pure in a final kick here at pre-nationals a month ago. So she's shown that she's not unbeatable. But let's remember, Carissa Schweizer was not undefeated last year when she came into NCAAs and then won over Aaron Finn and Anna Rohr. What are your thoughts on the matchup?
So I like them both, and you pointed out, with Carissa how it's where you're at the end of the season, and she showed that last year. But I really like Edna. She's been so consistent this year. I'm turning into a Lobos fan, right?
Mountain region.
Yeah, right. But I just think her trajectory this season has been so good, and she's raced so tough. I'm gonna say Edna.
Yeah, I think that Edna is a great athlete. I think she's going to run well. It'll be interesting to see if she goes out hard in this wind and is willing to do some of the work. I don't think she wants to leave it to a kick. I think if it comes down to a kick, we're going to see Carissa. I'm leaning towards Carissa. I feel like she came off of a great year last year. She had a great indoor and outdoor season, and I think that confidence is carried through. You suffer one loss at the beginning of the year when you're not sharp in a kick. Who cares? It doesn't really mean anything today.
I'm gonna have to go with the champ, but and I'm on the fence here. There's a chance Kurgat could run away with this thing, but I feel like Schweitzer now has the experience at not only here but on the track. I mean, she was 4th at USA's this past year in the 5K. They have very similar 5K PRs, but Kurgat said in the press conference yesterday, "This is my first championship, competitive championship experience where she's potentially a favorite." I think Schweitzer has a little bit of an edge in that regard, and I think she's going to be gunning to win. She said yesterday, it's harder to be one of the favorites, but I'm here to try to win again. So she's got a great ability to move over the later stages of a race, and so I'm looking to see her pull away and kick for the win.
Alfen, Carissa, Edna, Carissa. We don't know. There's so many athletes here who are like, stop talking about those two. There's others.
Right. There are others.
And one other who I think has a chance is, let's remember, the top returner from 2 years ago.
At this course,
Ali Ostrander, and she's my dark horse pick to have a chance to upset both of these athletes. Ali O, she won the steeplechase this past spring, and she hasn't dominated the way she has in cross country, but she's a gamer and she shows up, and I think when it comes to push comes to shove, when it comes to NCAAs, you can't count out Ali Ostrander. She's my dark horse pick.
Sweet. Well, I got to go with Charlotte Taylor. So I'm loving the trajectory that she's had coming through the season at conference. I mean, she was absolutely dominant at conference, opening up the race with a 4:55 first mile, and then not looking back. And I think something, that ability and toughness to be able to get out there and put yourself out there and then go hard could bode well in conditions like today, right? Just a tough runner, and so I'm going with Charlotte.
Yeah, I agree. Charlotte will run well, and I think Danny Jones will run well. My dark horse pick would be Katie Rainsberger. She hasn't had the most magical season, but she's a good performer when it matters. She kind of can look a little flat, and then when on game day, she's there. So I think she has a lot of great experience. I think she's a good gamer. I think she could step it up today.
The New England guy in me wants to pick Eleanor Purrier from New Hampshire, but I don't believe that's actually a true dark horse. And Gordon, I got to go with you. Ali Ostrander, she's been under the radar. I feel like she's coming along at the right time throughout this season. She does have the experience at this course. She loves to run on the big stage, and I think today might be a day she could come out and surprise everyone with not knowing really where she's at. So, exciting stuff. Exciting stuff, to say the least. I think one of the things that we have to look as well is the freshman battle, right? This is one thing that we love to talk about every year because it's the next up-and-coming talent that we're going to see fighting for a title. You guys were both freshmen in the NCAA at one point. Ran a little different. I think Kara, true freshman. Jared, you were a true freshman, a little older.
Yeah.
21.
BYU style freshman.
BYU style freshman.
Yeah.
What do you remember about being a freshman on this stage, the nerves and the mindset going into this?
I was very excited to run here, but I only beat 14 people my freshman year. So I certainly didn't look like the next big star up-and-comer.
So you got to eye all of the competition.
Yeah, I got to see the whole thing unfold. But it was overwhelming. It was a lot of people. I had never been in a race where people went out so fast. That is unique about the final championship here, how quickly people get off the line in a cross-country race. So for me, it was great. Looking forward, I learned so much from it, but I certainly didn't look like a future star that day.
That's an adjustment to these national cross country starts.
Yes.
And especially at a course like this course narrows very quickly and kind of puts you into a ravine. And I remember actually coming, so I had the same the same experience freshman year. I was blown away by how fast they started, finished way far in the back. I remember asking Coach after this race and going into the next cross-country season, I said, what can we do to get ready for the start? And Coach Eystone said, well, you just get really, really fit. And I was like, oh, so I wasn't fit.
Pretty simple.
Right? But it is an adjustment, and it's and it takes some time. And but I do think we have some exciting freshmen to talk about today.
Ben, who's your freshman pick?
I'm going to have to go with Winnie Colati at New Mexico. I think she's a strong piece to that team. Coach Joe Franklin said yesterday the team is happy, they're having fun. So I think that vibe around that team with the team title on the line, with Kurgat in the hunt for that individual title, I think she's just got so much positive energy coming into this race and coming out of high school. I think 4-time national champ on the track her senior year, Foot Locker champ. She's been a finalist at World Juniors. She has so many credentials that put her up there at the top of my list.
I completely agree. I think it's going to be Colati. I think she has a chance to score really high as an individual, not just be the top freshman, but actually make an impact on the race individually. So I think she's the easy pick for freshman.
Ooh, the easy pick.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, and we've seen that from, in years past, the freshmen coming out of high school, right, especially now, really are coming in game ready, a lot of them, for the college racing style. And, and I think Colati's certainly one who fits that mold. So you watch for her.
I like Colati, but she's not going to be the top freshman. Ooh. I'm going with Cal, Bree Oakley. She's the NXM champion. She set records, national records in the track season, and she's kind of been going under the radar because she's running with her teammate, Bethan Knights, and hasn't, won big meets or been in top 5 like Colati has. But I think Bree Oakley's a gamer, and I think Winnie Colati might get caught up in the craziness. And I still think Colati's going to finish top 20, but I think Bree Oakley's going to be a top 10 and surprise everyone.
I met her parents yesterday in the airport. They were really excited.
For her. Did they pick her as a top
rush? Her, yeah.
Nice. I like it. I like it. Well, the women's race is going to be unbelievable, as it is every year. Great storylines. The team, the individuals, the freshmen, so much. But we have another side of this, the men's side. And before we get to that, when we got here, it was a calm 63 degrees. We see out the window right now the winds are picking up. The darkness is still there outside. I don't think we're going to see much sun today. Teams are starting to get here because of the early time. What's going on in the tents right now as we look ahead to next hour or so? We're about 1 hour and 15 minutes away from the start.
Yeah, I think people are probably a little nervous, going over their game plan, trying to stay calm. And, I would always be reminding myself of the workouts I had done, reminding myself that myself and my teammates, we were only asking ourselves to do what we had practiced and practiced and practiced. And that would always calm me down. Just always remembering we've done the work, and now this is the fun part. We get to put on a show and hopefully come home with a national title.
Yeah, I just hope for the athletes out there that they can just focus on that aspect. With time changes, and then and we touched on this a little bit, but with threatening lightning and them talking about what's going to happen if lightning starts 2K into the race versus what's going to happen if lightning starts 5K into the race. And I think that can really, if you let that dominate what you're thinking about, that can really mess with you. You're starting in the race wondering, all right, am I going to be able to finish, or are they going to call this race off or something like that, which is not likely. But I think, I hope people are sitting in their tents and just putting all that behind them, and it's a cross-country race, right? The winds are picking up, but this is cross-country, so you just gear up for it.
If you want perfect conditions, go be an indoor runner, right? That's what we love about cross-country. There's so many different elements, and so if you're here today, you got to be prepared to run in anything.
And some of the talk yesterday with the wind, and we're talking about what are they doing in their tents. There was talk where they might not even have tents. We're in the rec center here today because of the conditions. We moved inside. We were told the teams might be here today. The tents out there a little bit dangerous once these high winds come, but I think we're safe to say they're probably outside right now and getting ready as you're talking. And with that, we look ahead to the men's race. That will go off at 10 a.m. Eastern time, and an unbelievable battle of teams on that side. You have teams like Syracuse and Stanford who have been on the podium the past few years, but really the talk is the defending champs, NAU and BYU, who's been putting on a show this year. BYU, Brigham Young University out in Provo. And, looking at these teams, Gordon, what do you see with these two?
Yeah, you got to look at NAU, the defending champs, and they're kind of quiet defending champs, I feel, because, BYU's coming on hot. But you look at their top three, it's better. it's even with anyone's top 3. Tyler Day, 8th in our rankings. Matthew Baxter, I believe, finished top 10 last year, comes in at number 9. And then Andy Chouard, who had a phenomenal track season last year, ran in the 13:30s in the 5K, comes in at ranked number 16. And then they got Jordy Beamish, who a solid he was top 6, I believe, last year. And Corey Glines, the transfer from Michigan, who's now running well, the senior. He's been a little banged up, but they got a strong core 5, who I think are formidable repeat champions.
And I, at the press conference yesterday, we learned that they went, I don't know if you guys heard of the escape rooms, where you go in with a group, you try to figure out the riddles and the puzzles to get out of the room. But they were asked, hey, what are you doing before the event to calm your nerves and kind of take your mind off it? And they said, hey, we went to the escape room and we kind of figured out who on the team we need to be with in a tough situation. And who you don't need to be with. I think they mentioned Peter Lamong was not the guy to make the decisions for them. But keeping it, really keeping the atmosphere light there and getting ready for today. So, but there's another team on the horizon, as we said, the BYU Cougars coming in number 2. And looking at this roster, I mean, Gordon, we've seen Rory Linkletter all year. He came out and won pre-nats after missing a flight. Had some mishap there, but was able to battle through it. But Jared, I'd love to get your take on this group. What are we seeing here with these 5 to 7?
These guys. You look at this is juniors, a freshman in there. The other guys on this 7 are sophomores. They're not a real old team in terms of a lot of nationals experience and a lot of time, on this, certainly in the cross-country national stage. But this team has been mature all season. It's been really fun to work closely with them. And these guys have trained more patiently. And I pointed out at the beginning of the season that there's been times in the past, and certainly my BYU years were similar, where, we'd work into the rankings, we'd have some good early season success, and then we had a little problem making it all the way to the national meet and putting it together, at the big day at the very end. And I think this team has done a better job about being patient and hitting the training just right. And so I'm certainly been very excited to watch this team go.
And we learned a couple really interesting things yesterday from Coach Eyestone. I mean, he commented how this group is special because a lot of these guys ran against each other in high school, and so they've had this common goal of running for a state championship, and they came together and said, hey, now let's have a common goal to win an NCAA title together. So having that unit that's known each other for so long is pretty unique. You don't see that on a lot of teams.
Yeah, they've grown up together. It seems like.
And they're trying to win their first title, we should mention. I think their best finish, and NAU won their first last year, but BYU's best finish, 93, when they finished second to Arkansas. So a lot out there. Any thoughts on your end, Carrie, about that duel up front between those two teams?
Yeah, I like Ed Eyestone. I like the story of BYU, but I do think NAU is going to come away with it today. I think they just have a little bit more.
Whoa,
I know.
Previewing the pick.
I just think that the experience matters so much at this level. There's like a calm confidence that comes with having come here and executed before. And I agree, they've been kind of quietly confident this year, and I'm not upset if BYU wins. but if I had to pick, I'm going to go with NAU.
So, again, Gordon, you guys have been talking about these two all season,
yes.
But they're not the only ones. Again,
yeah, there's 29 other teams.
What
about those guys?
There's 29 other teams. I mentioned Syracuse and Stanford in the running for those podium spots, but I want to know dark horses, teams that we're not talking about. The Oregon women of last year. Who's it going to be this year?
So I like Syracuse, but I'm going with Stanford, and because the reason why I'm going with Stanford is because I feel like they've been coming on very strong late. They ran a solid Wisconsin invite. They didn't do too well. They lost to Syracuse, but and obviously NAU. But at that Pac-12 championship where they were able to end the Colorado streak, which is an impressive streak, they beat a strong Colorado team. And seeing Stephen Fahey, the junior, kind of really come into his own and really show up well, and I believe he was top 3 in that meet. They have a great formidable top 3 with Fisher, obviously, who's going to be 1 or 2 points. And then Stephen Fahey and Alex Osberg, if they're both in the top 25, anything can happen. And I feel like if Alex and Steven have great races, their top 3 can cancel out NAU's and BYU's top 3. But again, if I had money on this, you're going with NAU and BYU. But if craziness happens, I like Stanford.
Don't bet on it.
So I certainly like my Cougars, right? But there are a lot of good teams, and one team that I always kind of look back to, and maybe it's dominance when I was running in school, is Colorado. And I think you have to respect consistently producing programs, and they know how to put it together on the right day, and they got good pieces too, right? I mean, Hecker's going to be up there, vying for certainly a top 10 finish, if not competing on the individual finish, and they have great depth. And so I think you always got to put, if they have some of the pieces, you always got to put them out there because they've done it before.
I agree. I'm going to have to go with Colorado for the dark horse. I think that the 2 10Ks back-to-back is an advantage to them with the summer training they do and the longer training that they do. And I also think they're running really well, and I think it's going to come – not to put pressure, but I think Zach Piran needs like a good, solid race. If he runs to his ability, they could maybe shock some people.
My dark horse pick, I got to go with Portland Pilots out in Oregon, and I think it's great. They came into the season I think ranked in around the top 25, and the coach out there, Rob Connor, said I think we're much better than that, but it's kind of rather have to earn it. So I think they've felt like they've been underrated all year. They're coming into their own. They have throughout the whole season and now ranked just outside of the podium. I feel like they're kind of the Syracuse team we saw a few years ago, where they're trying to prove to people, hey, we're a team that deserves to be in the talk and also deserves to win this thing. So I think they have a top 3 that can compete with any top 3 out there. So really, it's going to be coming out here, doing on the day with your 5 that we heard all the teams talk about yesterday in the press conference. We need every single runner. It's not just our first or second, but every point counts. And so I'm going to go with Portland today as that dark horse. Yeah.
What else is happening, Fenton?
There's so much happening. I mean, we talked about freshman women just a moment ago, freshman men. We've seen some unbelievable freshman men over the past 10 years at these NCAA championships. And Gordon, I mean, for you, there's got to be one that stands out.
Yeah, well, if I look at the freshmen, who do I like? I like Cooper Tier of Oregon. And the reason why I like Cooper Tier of Oregon is because I feel like he's been overlooked. I feel like, obviously, Casey Klinger, he's the NXN champion. Reed Brown, Foot Locker champion. Sam Worley's running 4 flat. But Cooper Tier, I feel like he's been consistently Oregon's #1 runner, and to be a freshman and be Oregon's #1 runner, it's pretty impressive. So I like Cooper Tier as my dark horse top freshman.
Well, would it surprise you if I like Casey Klinger?
What?
I'm just gonna go ahead and put my hat on. It's I'm gonna beat around the bush here, but Casey's an easy pick too. Foot Locker or NXN 2-time champion, and he races and runs and trains with so much maturity. He really has a more balanced head on his shoulders than I think most of these 18, 19-year-old true freshmen, and it's going to be exciting to watch him. Now, there's other freshmen to talk about, right? And he's been beat by other freshmen throughout the year, but he's shown that he can put it together on those game days, and he did that in high school when the pressure was high, and he came back after the pressure was high, and he did it again. And so I think he's one guy that I'm very confident in voting for under pressure.
Well, I'm going to have to go with Colorado again and pick Eduardo Herrera for this one. And I just think he's been getting stronger all year. A lot of freshmen tend to fade towards the end of the year. He has not. And he had a great performance at Pac-12s, and I just think he's set up well. He trained hard in the fall to take advantage of this, like I said, these back-to-back 10Ks. So I think if he plays his cards right and doesn't go out too hard, he could be the top freshman today.
I'm going to have to go with Mr. Ward here and Casey Klinger, and similar reasons to when I talked about Wayne and Kaladi. I mean, there's so much good, positive energy around that BYU team and just how cohesive they are going in these championships. I know he made a decision to defer his mission to be here with this team this year, and I think that, this being his last race until he goes on that mission, he's out there to run for this team and run for a team title. So I see him coming out with a lot of motivation and a really strong group of guys to help pull him through. So
Well, I was just going to say, and I also want to mention like runners like Ammon Kamoy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was, a top runner at pre-nats and could certainly come out there and put it together today. And there's a lot of them. It's going to be fun to watch those young guys.
And we should note, I mean, we're talking about who the top freshman is going to be. The top freshman really has potential to be in that top 15 spot. So you're looking at a top 15 to top 20 performance, and really with the conditions, maybe that could be bumped up a little bit. So these freshmen are no joke this year.
Yeah, it reminds me of 2013 where Ben Sorrell, Pat Tiernan, and Ed Cheserek all were in the top 10. Maybe we could see 3 freshmen in the top 10. But speaking of top 10, we got to look at that individual matchup. We got 2 great individuals in Grant Fisher and Justin Knight. And we got a little preview of those 2 athletes. So let's take a look at that.
But it's Knight and Fisher. Can Fisher make the final pass? Justin Knight, Grant Fisher, who's got it in the last 50 meters? Grant Fisher, Jack Bruce. Grant Fisher now pulled away, and Grant Fisher wins his first NCAA title.
How does it feel, your first NCAA championship?
Feels awesome. As a sophomore is incredible, so hopefully onwards and upwards from here, and I'm ready for anything.
I don't have any regrets. I think everything's a learning lesson. It wasn't my time to win. It's all in God's plan, and it's just what it is. It's past me right now. I just got to move on to the next race. What's next?
Knight versus Fisher, the long-awaited rematch.
No one can go with Fisher right now. Fisher looks smooth as butter down this back stretch.
Knight's starting to move. Justin Knight is pulling away, and look at the speed of Justin Knight.
Wow.
Whoa!
Fisher, 2-0 on the track. Knight, 4-0 on the grass. Both are eyeing their first cross-country title of their careers.
Fisher and Knight, neck and neck.
Wow, what a finish here. Justin Knight, another gear for the senior from Syracuse, looking to repeat as champion.
Will Knight defeat Fisher for the 5th straight time, or will Fisher put an end to Knight's reign?
Fisher's the real deal here now. Watch out for him at the NCAAs.
Justin Knight is back and ready to contend for an NCAA title.
Only one man can win.
We've seen a lot of great head-to-head battles the last 10-plus years. I look back to Galen Rupp, Sam Chalanga, Edward Cheserek, and a few different guys over his years. This year, we're looking at Justin Knight and Grant Fisher as 2 of those favorites. And you see what they've done this season, both high finishes, with the exception of West regional jog, we could say, for Grant Fisher. But Gordon, how do these guys stack up right now?
Yeah, right now they stack up as one is undefeated and the other is undefeated. It just happens that Justin Knight's undefeated on the grass, Grant Fisher's undefeated on the track, and the course is a grass course. So you got to think the advantage is on Justin Knight right now. He's shown that he can perform well on the grass, and especially with these conditions, that makes it even more of an advantage for someone who's really good on the grass to do well here across country. So I like Justin Knight right now when it comes to, if it's an indoor track meet, I might change my mind.
Well, we got, these 2 guys and some of the other guys, we got some fast finishers in this race. And I think this bodes really well for an exciting race down the stretch. These guys you look at, Grant on the track, right? And last season on the track, he was closing some really fast races. His sit and kick is on point. But Justin Knight's probably equally fast, especially when you put it on the grass. And so I think I am looking forward to just an incredible race between these 2. I don't anticipate, there's some exciting guys with the Bama trio and some other guys that could go out there and push the pace and kind of change things up. But I expect to have a few guys right together right there at the end of the race, and I expect it to be exciting.
Yeah, I think the finish is going to be really exciting. I think it'll be reminiscent of like Ritzenhein and Hall, all the way down to the end. I think they're both great athletes. They're both great kickers. I do like Justin better on the grass. I think like he had so much experience at the world level this summer as well, which bumps up his confidence. And I think he's here on a mission. I think he's going to get it done.
It's definitely going to be interesting. I mean, the one thing about Justin Knight, which could be definitely a positive, or it could be just something that he had to change his season with a little bit this year, but with the fact that he was a finalist at the World Championships in the 5K. He said he came in, he took all of August off. He started in September running 30-minute runs. He said he felt like a freshman again, kind of just getting into it. But he also said, I'm a low-mileage guy. So, it didn't feel like I was put that far back. Coach just said, hey, be patient. He's obviously running well throughout the season and right now. So he's probably feeling pretty good coming into this. Grant's been focused. What he said is, I've been focused on building this culture of our team. And so he said, I haven't thought about the individual battle. I just have been thinking about doing what's best for my team. That said, we know when those two are in a race, there's 2K to go, there's going to be a race that goes off. But like you said, Jared, there's more guys out here. And so I want to understand some picks here for dark horses to beat these two that a lot of people are saying are favorites.
Roll Tide, Vincent Kiprop, Alabama. The guy was crazy good on a D2 scene. He won cross country. He's a defending champ technically in an NCAA cross country championship because he won D2s last year. So I'm going with Vincent Kiprop, Alabama. I don't think he's going to win, but if there's going to be an upset, these guys going to do it. Vincent Kiprop, Alabama.
That's a lot of confidence in your dark horse pick,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Well, it's I hate to beat the same drum, right? But I really have liked Rory Linkletter. And I think, and it would be fitting to me to have this Canadian trio up front battling things out. I think he's put himself in a good position through the season. He's run very patient, and he's trained patient, and he's a bit of a gamer at the end, kicking as well. We saw that a little bit last year at the end of the track season in a little bit of a tactical 10K. He was coming down the stretch pretty hard, and so it's going to be exciting to watch. But I got to put my boy Rory up there.
I agree. Rory will be hard to beat. I'm going to go with Joe Klecker. He's a Colorado boy and a Minnesota boy, so we have like double connection. I just think he's coming on strong. Colorado does a really good job of peaking at the right time and at times surprising people. I think his own personal confidence has slowly grown throughout the season, and he's ready to make that step on the big stage.
Well, he comes from good blood too, right?
Yes, his mom is an Olympian. His father was an excellent runner. They're like legendary. The Kleckers are legendary in Minnesota, so he definitely comes from good lineage.
I'm going to have to go with Gordon on this, and Vincent Kiprop from Alabama. I think that, he's coming off of his D2 experience. He's 5-time champ. I think he pretty much won everything last year, cross-country, indoor, 2 events outdoor, ran 28-19. So I think he won Mount Sac, beat D1 guys out there. I think really there's just a lot of unknown. Alabama's kind of dodged a lot of the big meets this year, so we haven't really seen him run against the best competition. He won when I say when it counts at a championship event at SECs. He beat his teammates. A couple of them have beat him throughout the season. I just feel like there's a huge unknown, and when he's up there with Fisher and Knight, he could battle the line and those guys outkick him, or we might see him run away from everybody. It's just a big question mark out there.
If there's someone to run away, you think he's the?
I think he might be the guy. Yeah.
I'm on your team then. Team Kiprop.
So that's our analysis here of all these teams. Individuals are Frosh. I want to ask, how tough is this race? When you look over your careers at the NCAA, you moved on to professional ranks. How does this stack up in terms of a single race to win? How challenging is it?
I think it's very challenging. My husband took him 4 attempts to win here. He was second as a true freshman. He didn't win it till his 5th year. And it's just such a difficult race. There's so many elements, and it just comes down to this one day, this one moment. And you never know who's having a great season or who's dinged up, or if you catch a cold, and then you add in the weather and the course. And so to have it all come together on that one day is very difficult. And so I just love this race because I feel like if you can pull it off here, you can handle a lot of pressure.
Well, and I don't know. I think come into it from maybe a little bit of a different standpoint. I mean, I certainly in college I was never a favorite for an individual title, and really even since then in bigger races, you know, maybe talking about Top American or things like that. But I think, you know, that can be such a a beautiful thing in cross country where we have 250 finishers out there that everyone can have their own race with the people around them. And that's what Coach Isom was telling the guys last night. He said, you know, it's about winning the race around you. And I think, you know, everyone's going to come down the home stretch, you know, except for one person with somebody in front of them. And that opportunity to win the race that you're in can be exciting, can be motivating. And so I feel like, you know, winning the championship is huge, and like you say, there's a million variables here, and there's a bunch of athletes that we could talk about having a chance to win the whole thing. But you know, as we, you know, and at risk of transitioning back to talking about teams and things like that, I think the team winner will be the people on the team that can have their own races within the race.
I agree, and that's part of the beauty of this race is that there's someone that's going to be kicking all out for 80th because they know that matters to their team.
Right.
And so it's not like you're going to see the top 5 come in and everyone else is going to kind of dwindle in because they're like, well, I'm 10th out of 12.
Right.
Everyone is going to be kicking the whole way in, and I think that's unique and cool and fun about this event.
It is, yeah.
Well, with that said, it's time for picks. We got a little bit of taste. I think you guys have given some throughout the way, but we want to put it out there on the line. We're going to stack it up after this race and kind of tally up who's where with these picks. But the first thing, top 4 women's individual picks, and Gordon, we'll start with you.
Top 4 women's individual picks. Number 1, Edna Kurgat. Number 2, Danny Jones. Yeah, I'm calling it Danny Jones. She's going to take down Carissa Schweitzer. Number 3, and then Charlotte Taylor, the 10K champ. Number 4. Those are my top 4.
Jared, what are you seeing?
So I start, you know, back looking at the Lobos, and I think, you know, I'm back with my women's team favorite, and I think Edna has been consistent, and she's going to roll. Then I'm going to go with Carissa, Charlotte, and then Purrier. You know, she's run well.
Let's do it.
I'm going to put her up there.
There you go.
I'm going to go with Carissa. I think the experience comes through. Then Edna. Then I like Charlotte Taylor. I think the 10K experience is going to help her out today. And then even though she's a 1,500-meter runner, I think Danny Jones is going to sneak up there in the end.
She's going to get second, Kara. She's not going to get
third. Okay, well, I'd be happy with that.
I'm going to go. I said it earlier. I'm going to go with Schweitzer here. I feel good about that, and she's ready to go. She can, like I said, close at the end. Kurgat will be my number 2. Danny Jones, I love her kick. I saw her here at pre-nats, and I think now about a month later, she's going to be ready to compete with these top ladies. And then Eleanor Purrier, who we talked about a little bit, she beat Schweitzer here at pre-nats. I think she's going to be in the hunt late in the stages there.
Men's time?
Oh, man, let's do it. Men's individual. Gordon, what do you got for us?
I don't know if I remember if I pick Knight or Fisher or Knight. I think I might need the graphics just tell me who I pick because I don't know. But I'm going with Fisher. Why not? Yeah, he's gonna end the grass streak for Knight. He's gonna take down Justin Knight. Kiprop, my boy, Roll Tide 3rd, and then the need to win the team title is what's gonna drive Rory Linklater to 4th.
He's got that it, right?
Yeah.
So I got Justin Knight. You know, I think this is going to be a battle down the stretch, and I think, you know, putting 4 names up there is maybe doesn't do justice to the depth that we might have in this men's race, and so I'm very excited to watch it. But Justin, Rory, because I got to put him up there.
Second, that's impressive.
You know, but I think he can do it. And then we'll go with Grant, and then Gilbert Keegan. So. But that Bama trio it's almost interchangeable. They're just so good,
right?
You know.
I'm going to go with Knight, and then Fisher. I'm going to go with Joe Klecker just because I want him to do really well. And then I think Rory, I think he's ready for a big day. He wants to put his team up there, so I think he'll be 4th.
I'm going to go with Justin Knight. Love this guy. Just have seen him do some amazing things. Grant Fisher is going to be right there with him. I think we're going to see what we've seen at Wisco with these guys battling down the last 100 meters. And then I got to go with Linkletter. I was very impressed with what I saw with him at pre-nats here just a month ago. And then I'm going to throw Matt Baxter in there. I think 11th last year. The guys on my list, really, I feel like there's going to be a lot of passion to do well up front for their teams. And with the conditions, I think that's going to, maybe take them beyond some of these guys like the Alabama guys that aren't in the hunt for that team title and get through these adverse conditions.
Well, and I think we haven't talked a lot about NAU on an individual finishing standpoint either, but Tyler Day up there, you know, they got 2-3 guys that really could be, you know, vying in that top spot. So we got to do them the service of putting them up there too.
Yeah. Women's
Jared's
team.
a big fan of the NAU guys. Right?
Yeah, you know, yeah. Mountain region, baby.
There you go.
Women's teams. I want to see where are we at. These are the podium spots, the top 4 taking home the hardware today, Gordon.
Now, I was on the New Mexico train since day 1, but I just hopped off it.
Oh, man.
Colorado.
Oh, wow.
Colorado's going to upset New Mexico. I think last year is going to be on their mind the entire race, and I think they're Mark Wetmer's going to have them prepared. They're going to do the right thing, and they ran a great – not to say that they ran a great race last year. They're just going to run an even better race this year. So I'm going Colorado, New Mexico, San Francisco, and Stanford.
So I think you guys know I'm New Mexico, right? This is where I'm sitting for this this race. They have such a strong 4. So, you know, it's going to come down to if they can plug a 5, you know, solidly in that top 100. I think they're a good spot. But then Colorado has the depth. I think, you know, when we talk about fifth man problems or fourth man women problems, right? Colorado has the depth, and so I think you don't have to talk with that, about the, where people are sitting exactly. They're going to have a solid pack. It's just how far up can they move that pack, and then Oregon and San Francisco.
Yeah, I'm going with Colorado because of the depth. That's what matters today is everyone coming across the line. I think the Lobos will be second. San Francisco has had an amazing year. I think they're going to be third, and I actually think the Oregon Ducks will step up and be fourth.
I'm going to go with New Mexico. I think that they've just kind of figured out a key to what makes them tick, and I think it might have been here back in 2012 or so where Coach Joe Franklin said, you know what, this year the team was happy and having fun together, and I think they've figured out a way to carry that through the last 5+ years, and every year he kind of comes in with that feeling where this team's just clicking together, having a great time. They've got a great top four, a big leader in Eddie Kurgat. The fifth is going to be really important. Joe Franklin said yesterday, I don't really want to talk about who our fifth is going to be. It's kind of been interchangeable. I think the important thing will be, because that fifth could be so close between a couple people, the individual can't think, oh, well, I got another person that could do it if I'm not feeling good. Everyone's got to take that responsibility and try to be the fifth today. And with that, I think they're going to come out on top and be ahead of the Colorado, number 2, Stanford 3, and then San Francisco having their best finish in their history at 4.
Final picks.
Final picks.
Top 4. Who's going to win? BYU, NAU, BYU, Syracuse, Stanford? I don't know. I'm going with NAU. Sorry, Jared. I'm just going to say it. NAU is going to win. Sorry. Over to BYU.
Take it. They're a good team, man.
They're a good team. Syracuse going to get third, and Stanford's going to get their 4th straight podium. That's what I'm saying.
All right. Well, so I certainly respect NAU. They're tough. They're going to be tough. I'm going to go with my BYU Cougars, and I'm going to do that for their depth. And I think, and NAU has excellent depth as well. But I like, the BYU pre-nationals, really narrow spread, right? We're putting 5 guys real close together on the BYU side. The conference meet, sweeping it as a pack ahead of Portland, who's a good team, right? And Portland was running on partial strength, but I think that their depth has really shined through. And in a cross-country race, it's awesome to be out there running with teammates around you. And when you have this kind of depth, you can look up and see a teammate that you've trained with every day. And so I think being able to have that depth is gonna bode well for them. So I got BYU, NAU. I respect the Syracuse and Stanford as well as a bunch of other teams out there. But I do think it's going to be an NAU-BYU battle.
I think it's going to be NAU. I think the experience from last year is going to carry over. I think it's going to be a tight race. I think BYU will be second. I think Syracuse will do well. They obviously are very experienced as well and have learned how to put it together on the right day. And I think Grant Fisher is going to get his team on the podium.
I think you're correct, Kara. I think they are going to get on the podium, and I'm picking Stanford for the win today.
No,
I got to go against the grain here. I'm going Stanford, BYU, NAU, and Syracuse, and I think, I think that
Stanford hat down there.
Oh man, I don't know. I think that Coach Miltenberg has has figured out their system. They've gone through some learnings over the last couple years, and I think they're in a place now where they know how to make this team tick. Not only is he working on it, but Grant Fisher said, he's like, I've been working with our team all year on culture and getting the right culture, and we all are bought in. We all believe together, and they've just made these steady improvements. Second place last year, and I think they're going to carry that through and do some great things today.
Bold pick, man.
Boom.
Bold pick.
Boom. Well, that's our show. Our NCAA championship pre-show is in the books. We are at 8:15, so we're about 45 minutes out from the start of the women's race. Goes off at 9 a.m. And it's been really, really great to have you guys on the show. We're excited to get in the booth with you, bring you all the action. So make sure to tune in. Stay with us here. We'll have some great video content leading into the start of these races. We'll be back with you at 8:45, and then again, gun goes off at 9 a.m. And don't forget D2, D3 out there today. So we'll be back. See you soon. Thanks for tuning in.
Roll Tide.
It's not about where you were born. It's not about your gender or the color of your skin, or whether you're rich, poor, or in the middle. No matter what you play, if you have the skill and drive to succeed in school and in sports, we'll provide the opportunity.
Everybody lived and breathed the machine.
It was a confidence that they were the best guys there. The machine looked like it was going to roll you over, whoever you were.
And it's not just about the top runner, it's about the 7th runner in cross country.
Everything's working together. It's not one piece that's trying to win a national title.
The machine is far before our time, but we also feel pretty connected to it.
The machine, I think, for us, stands for